Now, in the wake of the capture of Nicolás Maduro from Venezuela, President Trump and his senior advisors are becoming increasingly explicit that their next target is Greenland, either through buying the island from Denmark or using the US military to seize the territory. So, how should Europe respond then to an increasingly bellicose White House? To discuss, I'm very pleased to welcome to the programme Barry Andrews. He's an Irish member of the European Parliament, where he is a member of the centrist Renew Europe bloc. Good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Delighted to join you.
Can I just ask you directly, first of all, look, what is Europe going to do if Donald Trump keeps to his word and tries to acquire Greenland potentially by force?
Well, it's obviously something that we want to avoid, and we will exercise every diplomatic channel to make our case to the United States. And of course, Denmark will be in the lead. The Kingdom of Denmark has offered to meet with their counterparts, in particular Marco Rubio, to explain exactly what Denmark's position is, to underline the fact that there is already substantial US military presence on the island of Greenland. And the Danish government have been very clear that they're very happy to discuss expanding that US military presence, so that if it is a genuine concern of the Americans that their own national security is somehow under threat because they're not present enough in Greenland, that is something that can be addressed at a diplomatic level. Failing that, of course, I understand your question is, well, what happens if President Trump carries through his threat to expand American territory? What happens if President Trump carries through his threat that is implicit in his national security strategy and indeed in his inauguration address last January? Well, then the European Union is faced with a really, really difficult position. My own view is that militarily, of course, there's no question of taking on the United States, but there are many, many trade and economic levers that Europe can potentially use in order to challenge unilateral action taken by the United States in this regard.
Okay, so you say military, some kind of military response by Europe, almost certain to be off the table should Trump make true on his threat here. Look, if any of this does actually happen, I mean, help us understand the gravity of this. It is the death of NATO, isn't it? It's the death of the transatlantic alliance.
Well, I mean, you go back to 2017, and Nadia, you see that President Macron was quite explicit at that time that he felt that NATO had already suffered brain death, and serious question marks now have to arise, putting Greenland to one side, as to whether Article 5 still abides and still applies as regards the members of NATO. Now, I just underline the fact that I represent the constituency of Dublin in Ireland. We are militarily non-aligned like 3 other European Union countries. So essentially it is a matter for the NATO members to decide what they're going to do. But it is clear from the statement of Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen that she views the potential threat from Trump to be a red line and obviously an end of NATO. And I think that is something that is being taken very seriously in Washington. This is, everybody thought it was a joke a few months ago, frankly, that Trump had his eyes on Greenland, but he's made good on threats to Iran. He has bombed Nigeria. He has kidnapped essentially the president of Venezuela, and the unorthodox nature of his foreign policy, the inconsistent and transactional nature of that foreign policy has caught everybody by surprise. But I think the European Union has anticipated it in its drive for strategic autonomy in security and defence matters, and I'm glad that that has happened and that is taking place. It has anticipated this set of events. Whatever happens, I know that the European Union will stand shoulder to shoulder with the Kingdom of Denmark.
Well, you say Europe has anticipated some of this, but you did also say on the platform X earlier on this week that Europe must move rapidly to secure our place in what you described as an increasingly lawless world, that in the wake of the events, of course, in Venezuela. I wonder whether you have this sense then that sort of Europe is almost failing to move fast enough in this new world order that feels kind of almost colonial, doesn't it? With the US, China and Russia having their spheres of influence and Europe seemingly a little sidelined.
Well, look, we're all very fond of talking down Europe, and we're very fond of describing existential threats to the future of Europe. But Europe expands by invitation. There is a waiting room of countries trying to get in to the European Union, which is packed, I would say. Western Balkans, Moldova, Georgia, Ukraine, and others. And the European Union's state of health is always questioned by people talking it down. And of course, it's a different type of organization. It's different to the United States, which can act more quickly. But it proven the test of time. It has got stronger as a result of the economic crisis. In 2008, it got stronger as a result of the migration crisis, as a result of Brexit, as a result of Ukraine, and even COVID-19 strengthened the European Union. And each crisis has strengthened the fabric of the European Union. We are now facing a new geopolitical threat. And as I said, I believe the European Union has anticipated the possibility that the United States would become less reliable in terms of security and defense, would become less reliable as an economic partner, and that the geopolitical situation would fragment in the way that it has. And that's why we have moved towards strategic autonomy, not just in security and defense, but also in trade and in our economy and in our competitiveness agenda.
Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has been addressing French ambassadors today. I do just want to play you, if I may, a little clip of what it is that he had to say.
Nous évoluons dans un monde de grande puissance.
We are living in a world of great powers, with a real temptation to divide the world. And I believe that what has happened in recent months, or sometimes in recent days, has done nothing to change this. And so this is a great risk to the international order in which we live. The United States is an established power, but one that is gradually turning away from some of its allies. It is breaking international rules that it promoted until recently concerning trade and certain security areas.
So, Mr. Andrews, Emmanuel Macron there saying, look, the United States is turning away from its allies, it's breaking international rules, he says, but he didn't criticise Donald Trump directly. I wonder whether you think Emmanuel Macron there has found the right tone with the United States.
Yeah, look, I'm very sympathetic to the European leaders who are, obviously recognise that Ukraine is our number one priority right now, and that we have to find a pathway towards peace. We have to find a pathway towards bringing an end to the conflict in Ukraine. It's absolutely crucial for the European Union's central, towering interest that happens. And of course, the United States plays a crucial role in making sure we find that very narrow pathway towards peace. And so you have to couch your language to make sure that we keep the United States on board. I think the fragility of the relationship is being underscored in the comments that President Macron has just made. And I think they're consistent with how many countries are feeling. If I may just comment, as an Irish person, we host a lot of American companies. And while we are absolutely condemn the breaches of international law that are involved in what happened in Venezuela, we're also very conscious that we rely very much as an open global trading economy on a good relations with the United States. But we've had these crises before. Brexit was a massive crisis to the Irish economy. We survived it. Our Prime Minister has just come back from China, where he is developing our trade and diplomatic relations with China. So it's a very difficult world. And I agree with President Macron, and the smaller countries really do have to stick together. And as somebody has wisely said, Europe consists of small countries, and those countries that don't realize they're small countries. So the more we stick together as 27, with the United Kingdom, by the way, and Switzerland and Norway, the more we stick together, the better chance we have of making sure that our values remain central to debates about the future of Ukraine, the future of Venezuela, and the relationship between the United States and, of course, China.
All right, really good to speak to you today. Thank you very much for your time. You've been listening there to the Irish MEP Barry Andrews.